and welcome. It is a great pleasure to welcome you once again in Diona for the second installment of our talk series, Sessions on Territorial Urbanism Beyond Neoliberalism. This is a five-part talk series realized collaboratively by our two chairs, Professorship Marc Angélil and my team, Architecture of Territory, supported by Sasha Deltz and Ferdinand Pappenheim, and by brilliant filming by Jörg right here. The series has a specific format. Every semester we have 5 events with 5 invited speakers and 5 respondents who engage in a public debate with the audience. So let me give you a bit of a context. Why do we propose to talk about neoliberalism and why urbanism beyond neoliberalism? So, admittedly, it's a broad term, it's a contested term, neoliberalism, and it has been used to describe in a very broad manner a mainstream form of politics, and some argue ideology, political ideology that has dominated the political scene in large parts of the world since the 1980s. It has consisted in the withdrawal of state institutions from decision-making in the wide variety of ways in favor of the so-called market forces, such as the laissez-faire or the hands-off approach. A historian who studies these processes recently described neoliberalism or defined neoliberalism as disenchantment of politics by economics. This position argues that, left to its own devices, market will tend to produce more innovative, more efficient results compared with regular social democratic decision-making processes that are tied to state institutions. But what interests us especially in this talk series is how has this broad political climate that we call neoliberalism, how has it actually affected the role of architects, how it has shaped the urban built space, and of course, where should we go next? If we look back long enough, in Europe at least, we see that the architect of the 70s and the 80s was mainly a civil servant with the task to contribute to the state, to the society and the public good. And today, architect is something very different. He is positioned differently. We would argue he doesn't have a very clear social or public role. He is perhaps a free agent who is free to create or determine his own position. So he's much more reliant on the private agency in a society than before. In other words, we might say that as a consequence of neoliberal transformation, the architect has lost his mandate from the state, and his influence in shaping urban built space has perhaps diminished. And with that, urbanism as a discipline has perhaps diminished too. It has changed in very significant ways. So, for this reason, it is important and interesting to imagine and keep asking ourselves, and this is what we try to do, how do we respond to these conditions and how do we shape specifically urbanism as a discipline in the future? So in the last semester, when we started this talk series for the first time, we foregrounded the theme of power and asked ourselves, if not the architects, who then has the power? Which agents, actors have the power to shape urban built space, and how we want to see these power relations shift? But as you see, this time we will foreground the notion of the project. What is an urban project today, and what can it be? In this context, we bring together architects and other urban protagonists who we believe have interesting approaches, interesting proposals in respect to the notion of urban projects. So they are, we believe they have work that is making architecture more collaborative, perhaps more ecological, perhaps more territorial, and we want to see or want to discuss those new positions. So in that context, we will be very, let's say, very honored to welcome for the first time in this series Momoyo Kaijima, maybe for the first talk in the ONA. But before I introduce Momoyo, let me take a very short moment to also announce a Wahlfach, an elective project that is starting today in conjunction with this lecture series. It will be called the Projects on Territory, and with this Wahlfacharbeit we will look at the history of urbanism in Switzerland, roughly the last 100 years, through 8 selected exemplary projects. The students will be asked to analyze these projects, rethink them, and create a new set of drawings and arguments that make these projects once again relevant or meaningful in the present. It is once again a collaboration between our 2 chairs. We will be guiding this project, and Marc, Angélil and Sasha Deltz will support and join the reviews. We are looking for 16 motivated students, and those of you who are interested, please join after this talk. Metaxia Markaki, where are you, Metaxia? And Ferdinand will present this project to you. So it is now my great pleasure to welcome Momoyo Kaijima from Atelier Bauwau, and in the role of her respondent, artist photographer Bas Princen. I will introduce Bas later. Momoyo is also a new professor, as you know, at the ETH Department of Architecture, which is a brilliant reinforcement and a great fortune. I'm very grateful. Welcome to the faculty. Momoyo Kaijima founded Atelier Bauwau with her partner Yoshi Tsukamoto in 1992, and I want to introduce them from my. I want to introduce Atelier Bauwau and Momoyo from my memory as a student around 2000 at the Berlage Institute of Architecture. I remember when Pet Architecture and Made in Tokyo arrived in Rotterdam around 2000, and I believe it was really nothing short of a revolution. It was I think, a revolution in architectural representation, and you revolutionized architectural drawing. And this is how students perceived it at that time. It was a very, very important moment. And I think this revolution consisted in the fact that you, let's say, reinvented the drawing not as an approach to architecture as an object or a typology, but rather architecture seen as part of a kind of a wider, let's say, a web of life, urban life, as part of many previously invisible and weak forces in the city and also in the private space of a house. And we found it all enormously exciting. And I would also say that the work of Atelier Bauwau examines how architecture is produced, how it can be co-produced by people, and how it can be democratized. And all that in this kind of brilliant and poetic way, a lot of times only by means of a drawing, which is very inspiring. So in that sense, it is an extremely interesting position to begin this talk series with, let's say, reveal architecture in its urban dimension, how it performs as an urban project, which I think it does in your work. So please welcome Momoyo Kaijima.
So thank you very much. Today, so I have enough time. So normally, so my lecture very, very rush and too many slides and too many talk. But today I talk just one project. I'm very happy to talk deeply. The title project is we call ichikei in Japanese. That means one, in English, 1K. And K means Kurimoto, the area's name in Chiba Prefecture in Japan. And the Daiichi means in Japanese, number one. So, and the firewood supply station. So that is the, how can I say? In English, Kurimoto number one fire supply station. It means HK. And Kurimoto are located very, very so rural area. It's I think 1,000 years ago, the area, not 1,000, yeah, 1,000 years ago, yes, 1,000 years ago, the area was connected by big kind of river or between river and ocean to coming into that area and connecting from Edo and or some other cities to this area. And so the Chiba has a very low hill around maybe maximum height is 400 meters. And then, but that means in Japanese case, so the 400 meter just height is very so low. So, and then very lot of hill, and between the hill and hill, so there is a lot of the valley. And as you see, the mostly area has a lot of also rice field and the forest, and the mountain part has a lot of agriculture farms for vegetables. And the site is 1K project site is here, but before I explained the former project, Loving Pork Laboratories project. And then this is the view of the valley in Katori. The lower part were covered the rice field, and the upper part, hill part, were covering the lot of the forest. I think originally it was covered by the brighter leaves trees, but nowadays mostly the tree were planted, I think, Japanese cedar tree in 60 years ago. And that is a landscape. And our design building, we designed this project, so Koisuru Buta Kinkyujo, Loving Pork Laboratory. And it is run by welfare service organization in Katori. And it has a lot of interesting programs. Upper part is a restaurant of a pork shabu-shabu restaurant. I don't know, you know shabu-shabu? Shabu-shabu, so shabu-shabu. It's very tasty. And the lower part is sausage and ham and the pork shabu-shabu meat production, so small factory. And here is open space. And behind the, I don't know what's happened. Behind the, so maybe no, sorry. Behind this space is, there is also this welfare service organization office. And this is a factory. It's very so clean and simple room. And the upper part, there is a restaurant. And one important things of this project is this welfare service and NGO try to run some working space for normal people and disabled people. So that means, because in Japan, sometimes disabled people, that means sometimes physically or sometimes mental or sometimes the knowledge. So there are several this kind of problem. And then some of the people, these disabled people, sometimes find a job is very big difficulties. And but now the Japanese government and also the many organizations try to give them to the more opportunity to some certain workspace. But now in Japan, mostly this workshop or workspace were run as a kind of the welfare service in a welfare service system. So. And then this NGO tried to make some business, but this business can be shared by everybody. So that is a very different framework for giving the working space. And that means I think a whole this building, so maybe 50, 60 people working together. But half of them, they are some problems of mental or knowledge. And then, but one problem also, if we didn't give them some opportunity to socialize or to communicate with others, they cannot have any possibility to train to them. And so that is also the good point for both for normal people and for disabled people. So if we can meet them or we can exchange more and more, so we can have more knowledge about how we can share or how we live together, etc. So this NGO try to make this opportunity to open up as a more public business. And this restaurant, so basically, everybody like to pork meat and very fresh meat and just to eat come. So and then he has some knowledge problems, but he always smiling and say hello and to open door and yeah, it's very nice atmosphere. And this is almost the first year photograph. The restaurant was started, but nowadays when I visit this restaurant, so already he worked. He works in this hall of the restaurant. So that means I think if people can get more opportunity, so they can do more brighter work. And restaurant is very simple. So very big window, and then it faces to the forest, and then along the window, so there is long benches, and then people can sit by window, and another chair is face to the window. And behind that restaurant room, so there is another big hall for NGO organization, and but this is the normal computer room, but the middle, so they have a very big kitchen, and then they can cook together to have a lunch or dinner sometimes. And in this facility or in this building, so the cleaning is also one of the very big sharing work part. So and also this kind of restaurant or service business is very important to be every time very nice and clean. So in this building, so I think mostly most clean it's a restaurant or facilities this area. So it's every time the glass is very beautiful and the floor is very beautiful. So I very happy to visit to see this kind of cleanness also. And this is Mr. Ida Daisuke. He is a leader of this welfare NGO. When we met him, so maybe 10 years ago, he was just around 30 years old. So it's he was very young. And then at that time, so he was vice president of this NGO. Then the first period of this NGO, so they started to make elderly house for the agriculture Katori area. So because this kind of welfare service are not well known in the very rural agriculture area in Japan. And for example, elderly people, everybody don't want to go to this kind of service. But in honestly, so they are sometimes happens when they going to be old and when they get some sick. So the agriculture family business is also very busy for every day. So so this NGO run by a local leader, not only by him, so that he has a more committee member, the elder, around 50, 60 years old or 70 years old, so a local leader. And then they decided to make some welfare service NGO for the area in 10 years ago. And his mother was tried to found this NGO, but unfortunately, so before this found, his mother was dying, and after her death, so who will be a follower? So for his mother's idea, and then relative and also relative uncle and brother and him. So they started to decide. So okay, we follow idea and to start to make an NGO and run until today. So, but what is a very interesting point of their business or their welfare service frame? So, because is they, for example, care service or nursery of the elderly people is now the very big topic of Japanese society, because in Japan we have so many percentage of the population of elderly people, and now the younger not so much than percentage of than elderly. So that's why we need to think about how we can maintain or how we can manage the society itself. And then, but if we started for younger generation, maybe just caring or nursery for elders, so it's it's a horrible, I think, almost no future. So one hand. So, but if we can learn from this kind of opportunity to do something for the future, so that will be more relevant for our society to learn or to be further in a sense. So this NGO called very interesting name. So nursery fun group or something like. So the fun means we call also the music group, sometimes we put this character fun. So the music fun group, something like so. But they pretend to be the nursery or care is not hard job, more would be a very creative and nicer frame for the society they try to do. And this is a homepage of them. They have a very beautiful video recently. Maybe so if I have an internet connection, some of them it's very interesting. Oh, 来た。これどうやったら上がるんだ。なんか very dark, but how we can でなんか maybe なんか why they are dark なんか in our home my home so it's nice something limited じゃあ OK let's try another very dark well, maybe you can see more clearly so at your home. So, but so they try to. For example, normally the production process are hidden in our society. So, and then their production is always try to engage of the society too, or and process too, to the consumers. So. And then they did two video, very beautiful video in their website. And the one is how to produce the pork meat and how run the pork meat farm. And it's very very interesting. Very interesting and very beautiful. So. And then so they try to explain how the life is very important and how we eat the life for our life. So something like but they this video also they try to show the farms, the pork, how they growing. But they are very cute, but we eat so this kind of a contradiction. So okay, and another one is how to produce ham. So after that, and then also this video giving us the chance to the salt, how it was produced, and the salt coming to the ocean, Pacific Ocean, because the Chiba had a very long coast, and they asked to some salt production, the very traditional method, to bring them to make the ham salt. And then, when we met them, I think we also very inspired by them. So. And then also we had a lot of discussion among them and us. And the last 10 years, so we almost doing together to thinking how the welfare service or how we can share the caring or nursery of the society. And after the Loving Pork laboratory project, so they started to think about the forest because behind of the laboratory, so there are forest. And forest was very dark, firstly, and then it was not maintained. So, and then like a cleaning process of the building. So they started to clean the forest too. And then when the people needs to maintain the forest, at first they have to thinning of the forest and then make a smaller number of the tree. And that means that each tree has more light from the above. So that this kind of regenerate or thinning or this kind of maintenance process is also very important for maintenance of the cedar materials too. And then they started to make a firewood, logwood, fire log, so as you see. So this was a former forest condition. When you see, it was very dark. So a lot of the bush, and in this part, there is no light from above. So that means the forest is not healthy. So that we need the thinning, so some smaller diameter one, and then to make more light to bring to the thicker one. And then this NGO started to think about this forest maintenance to give another opportunity of job for everybody. And then they pointed, or we propose, or we decide, okay, make one project, it's called 1K. And the 1K has several facilities. This is a diagram of the network of this building. Of course, next to this building, so there is a Loving Pork factory, Loving Pork laboratories. And then nowadays they have so many guests or so many people who come to or buy or eat these places. So now it's very so popular. So that's why they decide, okay, if they had a more opportunity to look around, maybe so they could make another place for them, for this customer. And the program is, main part is maintenance of the forest and make a log, fire log. But also this workshop space attached to the elderly daycare center, and also disabled children's daycare center, and also the office for some this kind of welfare service management. And also this could be also related to the Tokyo business area, because now the Japanese government decided to, or forced to the hire disabled people to be part of their company member. And but unfortunately, so it's also very difficult to find a good job for them. And also sometimes very difficult to manage caring for them, to how to work. So they start to think about maybe so they can collaborate to the very big company who had a knowledge about taking care for this working condition, and then they could support to these things. And also the neighbors, for farmers or forest industry, so workers, also to join this project as giving their skill and also the building material, and also it's also the encourage their work, because the Japanese forest industry was damaged by the lot of things. One thing is U.S. or North America imported timber, so from the 1970s, and then comparison between the Japanese timber cost and the American one. So American was much cheaper than Japanese one. So even if they traveling from U.S., so it's very so strange things. But it's happened so to this kind of gap between the distance and the cost. And then so because of this, many imported timber damage to the Japanese forest industry. And also maybe it's also the not so good timing to cut the last 20 years, because the timber itself was not so grown, so in a big size, because mostly the timber was planted just after the World War II. So that's why so just 60 years or 40 years, sometimes if they don't have any place to be used, in some construction or some furniture, etc. So maybe so it's very difficult to just remain in the forest. So maybe nowadays in Japan, so we have also a lot of the big discussion how utilize the timber and how utilize the timber good way. So that project is also related to this welfare service, but also it's related to this forest industry too. And this is our proposal. This is a living pork laboratory, and there are forests, and there is a new boulevard or new road coming from the Narita airport to this area, and building exists. The workshop space and the office and the daycare center, and there are several wood station, timber station there, and also in the future they want to have make a workshop of the furniture using from the forest wood, and also now we also design a little bit another form now, but. This is also another business of the sweet potato shops, and surrounded with sweet potato field. The sweet potato is very famous production of this area, so because very dry, good soil, so they can produce a very sweet, nice sweet potato. And of course, the sweet potato itself is very tasty, but they make more meaning. So that's why so they decide to make a good sweet potato cake from the production. And how to make firewood log. That is also the very interesting story. So normal fire chop, firewood log chop, so it's something like this. So ox and wood and some people can and some people cannot. So maybe so it depends on the skill and something like that. Yoshi, this is Yosharu. He tested what he can do, but also there is one machine. So this Daisuke Ida he found. It's a kind of dumper machine. So it's very easy to chop the piece by piece. So for example, this is a handle, and the log were put on the some line, and just one push, the distamper coming to the press to the log, and then so chop easily. So that means that there is no needs to power, and also the elderly or some people, everybody can help this kind of jobs. And then we must make some flow chart how to share the all work from the chopping, cutting tree from the forest to the some selling production of the fire log. And but this is the first process, and this is the last solution. And each line is some smaller process, thinning and cutting or bringing or chopping or making the package, etc. And some square one could be shared by everybody. So it is more openable job. So not too much skill, not too much danger. So if we found this one, so we follows of their manual what the NGO made. So for example, chopping woods, how each work or each process was shared. So the right side is some photograph, and the left side is a manual, and the letter in Japanese, but also some Chinese character on the top. So there is a put on the more lighter tone explanation. So that means it's a kind of first grade of the primary school, or very small children can also read and understand. But this kind of manuals also helps to the people to understand how work in each process. And then we started to the building. And firstly, so we asked also the local timber industry master, so to cut the tree, because the surroundings, there are many beautiful forests, and also some of them is very useful for the building material. So that we asked them and to cut the tree, because when we visit this kind of timber factory or mill factory, sometimes they already gave up to their business somehow. But this is after the 2011 earthquake. They had also attacked by some earth wave, and then mostly their workshop were damaged by earthquake. And but after the 5 years or 6 years when we visit again, but still this kind of condition. So that means they could not repair. So in the sense, but they have a lot of still material, and also he is one of the best master to cut the tree, so in this area or in Chiba prefecture. So that we met him, and we asked him to collaborate for the project. And also that we tried to find some mill factory, very family business mill factory. But some of them, they could help for this project. And also the carpenter, so we asked the local carpenter to join the project. And the main workshop space made by very simple structure. It is not Japanese, or more kind of in between Japanese and European structures, so in a sense. My main pillar was Japanese joint, but this beam part or roof part is somehow with bolt. And this is images of how the master of the forest work with cutting tree. And he also makes some small machine and to help the tree. And then this is after the whole tree was cut. And you see the very beautiful big tree. And yeah, he reads here, and so he reads the condition of the tree. So. And after this tree was brought to the carpentry factory and workshop, and he is a master of the carpenter, and they make some joint of beams or some bottoms on top. And this is a tool, very traditional Japanese carpentry tools for making the joinery. And he said when he started to this, we asked him to make a job. So he said, he brought very old tools. So last 10 or 20 years he didn't use. So that means, mostly now a lot of the Japanese carpentry were also the prefabricate or square or general diameter or general size of the timber often used. But in this case, big challenge is also the log form keeping. And this is not straight, and so and also the joint is very also difficult to make some machinery way. So that's why we ask them to do everything the handwork. And also the interesting things, when we make a board from this tree, sometimes it has a different color. So this is a more red inner part, and some part was very dark. This is also the character of this forest. But I think when the normal people see this timber condition, everybody say, it's damaged or it's some problems. Because in the market, we couldn't see this kind of timber, so unfortunately. But it was a character. So that means we can, for this project, we understood already the old timber where come from. So that's why we tried to use this dark timber as much as possible to mixing in white one and to make some special wall and wall. So this is a model. And finally, the roof are more simple. So big, middle, small. And but this is the structure. So after the building, and I think in Switzerland you have also the festival, or some Europe country also has a festival. So after the building up the whole main structure. And in Japan, we had also a very big ceremony. And this case, we tried to also have a very big ceremony with neighbors. And this NGO ran some concert. And next to this, we also make some event. And also this is some logs of what we saw in former slides. So the round log, the naked, without skin, and the joint descents and the upper part. And this is a decoration for the building up ceremony. So it's a Shinto way, and the top there is a god and some explanation about the when, who did this building. And also in these ceremonies, we throw the rice cake from the roof. So this is the audience, neighbors or area, so local peoples, but also the many people from the restaurant, so they joined the event too. So, and this is a we finished the project last month. No, not last month. 2 weeks ago, and then this is a recent the photographs. This is a sweet potato kiosk, and this is a daycare center and workshop, and this is an office. And in between, so there is stairs, and here is some water facilities, and also the upper part is storage. And this storage could see the this big workshop space. So this is very simple kiosk of sweet potato. The bottom part, the ground floor, is a factory for sweet potato, and the upper part is observatory to the area. This is an observatory, so very simple. So just sit and eat, so something like. And but you see, so many, for example, this timber, so you see the several different color. So it's also make a kind of variety of the cedar surface. So it's very also interesting effect. And so this is a view from the sweet potato field. In the middle, so there is a one approach to the workshop. Yes. And new street side, so we try to make a facade. So it has some small balcony, the hanging from the eaves, and they can come out to look to the street. And this is the in-between space for the office and workshop space. Here is a toilet or some shower room, etc. And up to another room, and here is the storage. And workshop has also the long, big door, and could be opened up to the side. And this is a daycare center of it's. Here is more with shoes, and here is without shoes. In the corner, so there is the tatami room for sleep, and also kitchen. So in Japanese daycare center for elderly people, it's they basically they stay and eat, and also to take a bath or relax, etc. But sometimes in normal daycare center, so there is nothing to do special. So, but in this case. For example, we expect some many elderly people, but if he very good at, he's good at this timber hobby or etc. Or sometimes they are farmer, so that's why they are very good at making some things. So that's why in that sense that this daycare center is they can work. For this the workshops too, so that's why not just rest or not just relax, they can do something, or they can create some furniture or a fire log, etc. And this is the main workshop space. Between the roof and the roof, so lower roof and top roof, there is a small window. We can see the forest, and also wall has a very simple. Cement wall, but with with some small piece of wood, and then not now, but for the usage they can hang the many tools on the wall, so scope or ox or etc. And this is the view from the storage, and it shows also the clearly for downstairs was a workshop. Oh, sorry. And I think a little bit explains what is Japanese case. So this is a 88. So Japanese population. So this is around 80. This is 0. So this is original. So 120 more. So 40 years ago. It's after the Meiji restriction. So and then restoration. So and then this is the 2010. So we have a very big baby boomer. So this is the first baby boomer, and this is the baby of the baby boomer. So the two big, but also we have a lot of discussion nowadays. 2050 or 2020. So this upper part is much higher or higher. So or this part is higher. So what we manage to the this unbalance condition. And also this is explanation about the amount of the supply woods. Supply and rate of the self-sufficient of the woods in Japan. And color of the red is inland woods, and this is imported woods. And then this is after the war, and then so this period, in Japan, so US $1 is 360 Japanese yen. So now it's almost 120. So the 3 times expensive. So to US dollar. That is a kind of fixed rate at the moment. But after it was open, and then so US government tried to ask to the Japanese to have some certain big market to sell many production from the US to Japan. But also there is some contradiction. So because of the Japanese people also exported to US, and then Japanese yen is going much higher and higher. The case that also there is another political decision to the Plaza Accord. It's happened, and then in that case they try to this unbalance Japanese exported to be limited to the U.S. to kind of making the balance to always to the Japan and the U.S. So that's why but this kind of impact going to the somehow percentage self-sufficient percentage. This is a line. But also now that we see, so this is in 2015, so that we had a lot of the imported timber from abroad, even if we are islands, so that is also the very big problems of our society. And then last part, I a little bit add recent our project Momoyo. This was coming also the reconstruction of the 2011 earthquake. And then, so I explain also that sometimes this project, more long history of this recovery process with. But in this case, just I quick to the how related to the this timber issue with this project too. So. And this case, we try to make accommodation for the recovery area to propose to the use the old vegetation garden or vegetation stepping field to be certain accommodation camping spaces for the people from the urban exchange. And in this case, we try to this thinning process by the not only by professionals or more including the volunteer too. And the building itself is very so simple, one big long building, and it's designed by us, but two building designed by young architects. And then these two buildings run by local forest woods. And we asked to this young architects. This is Dot architect. They are very good at working several art exhibition in Japan. And another, he is also the teaching in my university as an assistant professor. And but he also had a lot of knowledge about some traditional timber housing, so cottages. So these two buildings very different approach. One is a traditional Japanese way. One is more, how can I say, European or vault joinery, so simple one. But we could test a very good way to how to make the small building by ourselves. And the process is also at first a cut tree. But this is also the kind of the school for everybody to open. So I learn and I cut also, so some part. And but this is also very good experience for everybody. So we open the forest, and also after the cutting, so we bring and make a slice, small pieces. And also some leftover material was going to the wood chip to make a path in the forest, like this. And this is some photograph in a volunteer group workshop. So I'm here, so not looks like, but I'm here. The many other people. And after the cutting, so 2 or 5, around 4 or 5 meter. So we bring to the mill factory, local mill factory, and make a board or some columns by the mill. And after, so we manage 1 week building summer workshop last summer. And each building maybe 10 people, so with the carpenter and some architect. He can do also many of things by himself. So and then after the 1 week, so we finish the main structure. And then next week, so we continue to some materials. And this is a result of what we did. A very simple triangle building and cottages and the front our building. And a very low cost project. I think total cost is amazing low. So I think maybe compare from the Switzerland, maybe very almost 1/3 or more, maybe 1/6 or something like so. It's very low budget project. I don't know what's happened. But I can finish. If you like. Okay, I can finish, but almost I talked the main part. So, through these 2 projects, but today, so the title is Beyond something. So I don't know if we can beyond or But recently, so we also enjoy the learning process too. So I think economy or this new, なんていうのかな、some business or more economical aspect. I think this case is very different attitude, both cases. But I think we lost a chance to learning from each other, many skill and also many knowledge from the old days. So the architecture or design could given the chance to the many people to share this knowledge into the future. So, okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Maybe first question: are you born in the city or in the countryside?
I'm born in city. I'm city girl.
City girl.
I don't like better.
No, you just hold it like this.
Yeah, I'm city girl, basically.
Yes.
But one good good thing is, my grandfather has some rural house, and one is kind of near the river, and a little bit similar Katori. So very next to the river, there is so many fields, rice field, and surrounded some hill, some so the similar landscape. And another secondary house has it's located to the fisherman village, near the fisherman village. So it's more coast side for swimming, beach, and then. It was both was one is built maybe after the war. So, but one was built almost 100 years ago. So I spent also a lot of time to this kind of rural area when during my childhood. In the summertime, I spent a lot of fisherman's village, and I think this riverside, I spent not every week, but every second weekend. So always I went to there, and very, how can I say, somehow I enjoy it very much.
Yeah, no, I'm asking because I'm from a village, and in the village, let's say, in between the village and the next village, in Holland, there were forests, production forests, so ugly forests, I would say. But it's the place where when there was something you would not be allowed to, you would go there. You would go there to make a fire, to drive your motorcycle, or to, do other things that were not really supposed to be seen. So the forest for me is really this kind of understanding of a space that is a kind of a buffer for urbanity. So when you're a bit locked inside of your place, you go there and you take the space, whatever it looks like. Somehow I understand also these projects a little bit like this. And do you think there is enough of this kind of space? Is there enough of this kind of spaces left?
You mean the boundary?
Yeah, the place where you can go to do something.
Okay. Maybe it's as you said, the forest somehow. So before, it was on the local village people, and then somehow the outsider like me, we are somehow hesitate to come into the forest, as you mentioned, because forest will belong to someone, so that's why normal how can I say, normal modern attitude. So we cannot enter, not so much. So, but somehow in all the time, so before the Meiji period, in Edo period, in Japan, so mostly forests were owned by the community. And also we call iriaichi. Iriaichi means sharing space. In English, maybe so commons, somehow so it's a similar words. But we have a little bit different system, iriaichi. And iriaichi is a kind of sharing space in between. But in that period, always common people or local people used to this and to share to some certain after some commission discussions. In 1 year use or some several years use. But now I think in urban context and the rural disforest, sometimes it's we were already divided to be different system of the usage. And also there are some, for example, 1970 or 60, so in Japan we have also some building type, it's called nature accommodation in between sea or in between forest. And so that means government asked the younger, like a school, primary school, junior high school students to go to the countryside to learn the nature or something like that. So this is also open to the school to stay there some certain moment. But maybe I think we have not so much accessibility to this kind of boundary. So, but we had more. We had still a lot. So, and also after the forest industry were very weak, so the forests were very abundant somehow, and then maybe this is also the one timing or good.
And you think that by doing architecture you can in a way activate again this kind of you can stretch the boundary again a bit.
Yes. No, I think originally the village and the forest were more connected. So
yes.
By the life. Sorry. So by the life, and then I think because of they use the forest because get firewood from the forest or get a mushroom or a vegetable or sometimes hunting the animal or to eat or get some fruit. So but if they lose this lifestyle, so the forests were not so connected to the if village people life. So
maybe I would like to ask you to explain a little bit better why you chose to show this kind of a countryside project, no?
yes.
I find it really important, right? And you quite insist in your practice on these rural-urban, let's say, issues. And also you said that you are a city girl, and I feel that perhaps your generation is in a way rediscovering something, right? That maybe the older generation of the baby boom architects in Japan didn't do, right? So how are you different, and where does this rural aspect come in as a kind of a new theme in the work?
Yeah. But Tokyo is land cost is very expensive. I live in Tokyo, and I have also some work in Tokyo. And also I have several house projects in Tokyo, and also sometimes some public buildings. But Tokyo is also somehow very difficult to be part of the part of the small politics or big politics, because Tokyo is more big, strong politics or economic pressure. so big. So we try to propose to the metropolitan government, or sometimes we also work with the small ward, 23rd main ward district. So, but still it's very big, I think. We cannot easily to touch to the community and also touch to the government too. So, and then so I started to teach Japanese some university. It's called the University of Tsukuba. It's located in Ibaraki Prefecture, a little bit north of Tokyo. And then around this, my university, so many so small and big cities or towns. And they often offer me to support something. So. And then I slowly, last 17 years, so I slowly work for them to support consulting or doing something so with the top Japanese students too. So, and then I realized, maybe so this kind of scale could be more engaged, so by both sides, and to testing to the opportunity or possibility to the role of the architect, the role of the university too. So, and then after this 2011, so we had a very big earthquake. And also the big earthquake given us so many changings in our society. And then so many university or architects try to test to how we can support or engage or work or test our role, so somehow. But I think if they are more aged, they have not so much power to commit into this kind of interview or enquete or the details. Or also some younger generation, around 30 years old, so they have also some less contact to this kind of thing, but they have a very lot of interest about this kind of movement. But maybe for the recovery process, the disaster location area were already a little bit far from Tokyo. So some people, or this younger generation, are a little bit set back to participate or involving to this kind of social activity. So maybe I think one. So maybe this social background is very big reason so why I would be like this, and also our generation is maybe mostly so only the work for this kind of things now. So that's why maybe so I try to show, or that is also the result of my work recently. So.
Can I ask one more question? So I'm fascinated. You showed, for instance, how you are in volunteer organization and you are learning to for instance, cut trees and to do a process of timber, and then this fascinating, how did you say, resolution of work, right? So all the different steps that are needed to bring a tree from a forest to put it inside the building as a building element, fascinating complexity. But so in a way you try to also in a way reinvent a kind of a production process which is not industrial and which is not prefabrication and which is somehow more socialized. And you want to do it with the local resources. So all of that is very, of course, contemporary, right? It's very, in a way, ecological.
Also counter our society, in a way.
Yes, I mean, I think
counter the economics.
it is, if you want to go, please. I mean, so I would like to ask: do you find that your position is? I mean, I can understand that this is very important in a Japanese society. It would be also very important in a European society. It's clear how this project is extremely has extreme kind of context priority in our day and age. And I'm simply curious if you could tell us whether your position is recognized. Do you see that you are on a kind of a front line of a certain changing mentality, let's say in architecture, or do you find what you do still unique? Is there a future for the kind of work that you're doing? Let's say, are your students taking it up?
Yeah, well, I think so. I don't know. I'm a front or back, or I don't know, but I believe because if we didn't do this kind of things, we lose so many resources. Yeah. I think, for example, many of this kind of skill, some part they are 60s, 70s, but some they are 80 years old, and they are maybe soon they will dying. They will be dying in the next 10 years. And if we didn't do anything, so I think we can lose many diversity things. And well, of course, a computer, these kind of things, it's possible to, but I'm not so interested in basically. So, and then, but I also needs to more experience to learn some things. The experience giving us so much things. We cannot explain everything in our experience. But experience given us more a lot of the memory or physical memory in our body, and it reminds and it helps us a lot of different. If we have some problems, so I don't know. Sometimes, but it's a reality. For example, if I did once cut a tree, and if I have a saw and there is some tree and someone falling under the tree, so for example down, and I can help them to cut the tree. But if we didn't, so I know everybody just to watch them, so something like so that maybe if I try to. I try to keep the more contact or try to keep the opportunity. So this is the kind of the last moment of the getting more resources from the elder or society history. So that's why. And also I'm also good chance, good position for teaching the young generation, and I brought many students to go there and learn from the elderly. So that is also the maybe if they can by individuals, of course it's good. But if you lose this kind of opportunity, so it's also very good for help by my generation, I think.
So it is in the end this kind of let's say a countryside project in a way. So to say, has to do with knowledge and with memory. It's.
You would agree very much.
I think so. Yes, I do. Yeah.
But there's maybe one more thing I would like to ask, and besides the fact that I was very fascinated that you cut trees with white gloves, but that's I think nowhere else. But no, there is one question about scale and time, because looking at you are allowed to do one project, then you can come back and then you get the forest, and then in a way. But what's the limit of this scale? How big can this side B for you to still be able to manage it as an architect and as a kind of person within a society that is helping them? And then also, I think in time, how long could you think this project can continue for you?
Yes. I think first project is we run with this NGO. So, and firstly we just make this loving pork laboratory, and now in between, so we did also another project, a daycare center. So, which has also the interesting school, open school room, so for everybody, to neighbors. It was also very succeed, so to the activate the local. So, and then after, so this is the third project, also with them, and.
So how many more are possible?
But we continue. We continue and we follow and we growing. So and also, but they also maybe one of the good things. We of course we propose to the society, and basically so we make a frame with them and to design the project, and also we asked some supporter to help the donation or a lot of things. And so this each first 1K project was donated. It's supported by one Japanese NPO to collect many money for this kind of welfare service. And then that case is more, how can I say, it's very open to the end. In fact, if we continue. We learned from the project, we propose a project, and if we finish the building, and after the usage, they found a new proposal, or new proposal. And then after we make another frame, and we propose to the society, and we get a reaction from them, and to make. So. And also another fisherman's village project. Also, at first I started to the fisherman's school without any building, and then after maybe 5 years, let's make some space for the fisherman's school and also some accommodation. This is the timing, and then we make this, and then now that we also run another mini natural school project using that facilities, and then. Now I'm asking to some collaborator in another who living in Tokyo, and then so they also propose a mini program and run together. So it's like one set and the next frame and the next territory. So kind of cultivate one by one.
But it also means you have a really role in society as an architect.
Yeah.
You have the role.
Yeah.
Maybe you should ask the public if there is.
Yes. Let's open to the public. Okay, number one. There's a first question over here. Let's take maybe 3 questions.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you. It was very interesting to see the project with the idea of utilizing local resources. My question is, in your practice, you use vernacular materials and knowledge to produce new buildings, like the way you use timber to create the wall. So, is it a reaction against the globalized aspect of architecture? So this is one, and also I'd like to address to Bas Princen. So I'm just eager to know, like, how does this vernacular versus globalized features in your own practice?
Sorry, I couldn't get up the last sentence for my question. So the architect...
you use vernacular materials and knowledge to produce new buildings. So is it a reaction against the globalized aspect of architecture?
Globalized aspect. Yes. Of course. I'm here now from Japan, so I'm very globalized somehow. So I can say so. I think we... Of course, like a curiosity to the something to finding some knowledge interest. Of course, my globalization, one hand, it's coming from this interest, I think. But, and also maybe, so Japan, for example, Japanese architects, how teach in Switzerland. So this is also the very globalized, but also very interesting. I can learn a lot of things from your society, and also I was tested also by your society. And but that is also a very big challenge, but also it's good opportunity for me. So maybe, of course, the globalization is somehow so too simple word for me. Maybe we need to clarify, so what is the meaning of the globalization? And but the problem maybe so I feel so when the globalization problem is maybe if we didn't start to, no, if we did not the respect to own local knowledge or local culture, to be just occupation by some money, I don't know, some fears. That is, I think, I feel very bad. So, but if we can respect as much as possible for the difference, to exchange or by both sides, so that would be very, I think, important. So now I think a lot of information society or internet, everything. So sometimes the photograph lose the context, and the sharing system is too much fast to the sharing from the background. So I think time is very. For me, the time is one of the very big problems because our lifetime limit is limited, and if 1 minute, everybody 1 minute same. So we can, if we have 1 minute, nobody can live 2 minutes in 1 minute. So that means if, for example, 10 times Instagram coming to that once. So that means we have some capacity to understand 10 times Instagrams, where it come from, but maybe so just we lose a context somehow. So but we need to learn how to get exactly these kind of things. That is my opinion.
Yeah. I think maybe you want to say something also about Instagram.
No. Instagram, I will refuse. I will refuse to talk about Instagram. No, because I think a digital image is very limited. But that's another discussion. But I would like to. I mean, the question was in a way, how do you deal with this difference between kind of a globalized and a vernacular? But I think it's for me easier to. It's not easier to look, but an image of a building that is vernacular or let's say more local or is easier. It's easier to read the intention of the object. So the intention of the maker. And the maker can be a designer, or it can be a local craftsman, or whatever. So it's for me easier as an image maker to catch the idea of the person who was trying to make something and to transfer that into an image. And I think this is much more difficult in a kind of a globalized object, you could say, no? Because then everything is in a way opaque and it's not so clear, and there might be multiple persons or multiple companies have worked on it, and then it becomes an object that is not really readable. And I'm interested to see the kind of design element, the idea or the intention of the object or the building.
Thank you.
Konbanwa, Kajima sensei. Thank you very much for your talk. It was very interesting to see how you work. I'm curious about your team that you have for such a project. Obviously, you have very good craftsmen that work with you on the practical side. I'm wondering, do you have on the planning side people helping you with sociology, maybe history? What kind of know-how do you take into your team to produce such a project? Do you work with landscape architects? Do you have other planners around you, that traffic engineers, urbanists? How does the team look?
Okay. Now, of course, one key project is as a lot of, for example, welfare service, and also the nursery, and also he is this NGO, Mr. Ida. So he is also the try to bring the many, for example, philosopher or a lot of people into the project. So so that's why so through his talk, or also when he produced sorry take some water. Take some water. Sometimes happen. Yeah, it's dry for Japanese sometimes, the dry air. Okay, yeah, so I can say, he tried to open to the welfare services or to more brighter discussions. So that is also very important. So in a project, and also the producing like a ham and sausage, or this like a new production of the firewoods. Every time, so he went to the specialist to give him the advice, and he visited the several similar facilities or buildings, so that he met them and to kind of feedback from their project. And then so he established the main part of their also. And then also what is also interesting things is he also bring the many people to learn other skill. For example, he sent two young guys, so to send some Tosa timber society, and to learn how to manage the forest, etc. And then bring back their cutlery case, for example. So this kind of new project, we should learn a lot of things because we need in a case. So this kind of method, it's also very helpful to meet another knowledge and another possibility. So the case by case, I think. And then my case, also the recovery project based in the fisherman village. So that's why. So now I'm also now that I consulting the fisherman's union, for example. I'm an architect, but I don't know. I never heard who consulting the fisherman's union. but it happens. So because the last 6 years I collaborate many fishermen and visit many fishermen, and I learn a lot from how to fish. And then so because of this is also very interesting. Each ocean has a very different topography. It's a space, and that space analyzed by the fishermen in several seasons, and also they are also the biologists kind of. So they analyze the climate. But these kind of skills, it's also helped me to understand how they get the knowledge, etc. And also the after, so yeah, this recovery process also the many other skill professional, so coming to this kind of ball of the recovery. So that I also invited some other fishery professor, for example, and also the forest professor or biologist or I met through this recovery project, I met so many different kind of people. Yeah. So not only architecture themes, so more brighter life and other industries. So that's why, so last 6 years, so I learned so many different things. So that's, I would say. So Marc,
Thank you very much. I'm extremely glad that we invited you for this first lecture because you hit the subject matter on the head. First of all, by describing the one project, the 1K project, and that project is a construction. And you designed that project. You didn't design only the building. You designed the entire network of actors and their relationship, including the organization of the territory. And the organization of the people that were involved in the project. So it fits what we are looking for. On the other hand, you also proposed a project or you showed a project that is a counter narrative to what we encounter with the neoliberal economy. Okay, so it is an alternative to what we see, and it's, I think, very well described in this diagram, which addresses the question that Milica talked about the relationship between the city and the countryside. And if I understand you correctly, you situate the project in this hybrid zone between the two. On the other hand, one could also say, in reference to Milica's introductory remarks, is that what is the role of the state and what is the role of the private sector? And you show a project that is neither state nor private sector. It's a civil society organization that has pulled its resources together in order to create this timber industry in an industry that is dying. Okay? By the way, it's also dying in the States because it's being taken over by aluminium from Japan. Interestingly enough, I mean, this is where things are crazy, but there is a hybridity between the role of the state and the role of the private sector, in which you begin to launch a new model that has potential, I think, in the future. And this takes me to Bas Princen's question about the scale of the enterprise. Is it an isolated case of a few hippies going to the Californian desert to fight capitalism with an alternative model, or is it something that will have a resonance in Japan and in other countries as well? And this is where it will become really territorial. Is it an isolated case? That's the question of relevance, or does it have the potential to reach far beyond this singular case?
Yeah, I believe it's a kind of, we call model case study. So for the society. So because in Japanese case, or maybe many other countries, or many other things, maybe everybody worried about to do first time. So because a lot of the risk and a lot of problems. So. And we take a lot of time, so in fact. So learning process, we are happy, but learning process, so it takes a time. So.
The question is also, are there enough good architects like you that can guide these projects?
Can cut wood.
No, I think I bring many students, maybe last, I don't know, 6 or more before another project also I brought many students, and then But some of them, they try to by the same as by themselves, so different ways, so not same as me. So, and then yeah, I think maybe so for the writers audience, I think let's make a case study, and one of the proposal as a practice, so, and to the society. And then if this case study could be help to others to their own project, so I think run their own project, it's also very good. And then also another case, of course, is the learning the process for the students. It's also very helping to, they are very fresh. You know, if they started to work this kind of strange things, they could be very open mind. I hope. So
no, because it's interesting, because they are almost like because they can become almost like semi-live projects for I mean, much more as a project that runs for a very long time in your profession. No, you could, as a young architect, decide I'm going to go to a village or to a small city, and I'm going to be a local architect, and I'm going to build all these kind of elements slowly. I think it's a possibility.
Yeah. I think yeah, that is also very good. Not everybody should be work for big company. No, I think if you have a more challenging, so or you are allowed to do something different from others, I think I totally recommend to do finding new testing.
Can I add something to it? Because there is a tradition to it, both in Switzerland and Japan, and that's the cooperative model, in which people got together to use collectively resources. But if you go to Bologna and the countryside of Bologna, you will see that there has been quite a long tradition of similar projects, but it's ingrained within society. Or if you look today, there is a new online newspaper in Switzerland called Republic, and that is a group of journalists that came together, that decided that they didn't want to be hired anymore by the large media companies, and are fighting for the freedom of the press within a democratic system, and then they write extremely interesting papers. So I think you are onto something that maybe could take us beyond just the model case into kind of a reframing of this kind of counter-narrative to the neoliberalist model that stands on our poster.
I mean, could you? This is just a kind of maybe it's the last question. I'm wondering, could you put a name on it? Could you call it something? What is it that you're doing? Is it really ethnography? Because it's not just ethnography, right? You're not just describing, right? You're really doing projects. How do you call it?
How do I call it? Yeah. So
maybe you can just invent something. It's okay.
That's why I try to explain. In Venice Biennale, so I try to explain what I'm doing. So I think ethnography. So my ethnography needs field work very much, and in the field we can learn a lot and bring in some more system to the feedback. So, and the architecture is always. Mostly architecture would be like singularity, so more kind of, if we sell the many houses, the house makers, so it's a little bit different, but if we make one building, it's also the good kind of strongly case study, so basically. So this is one potential of the architecture, I feel. So the architect knows in the certain case to a lot of things in one project. But if this kind of frame, so could be expand a little bit larger environment around the architect. So might be also the architect can be ethnographer, the role of the ethnographer for the society. But architects, one of the good things that we can represent to the as a building or design, or also as showing the drawings. So that is also another possibility as architects too. So I don't know exactly what the profession name. So, but in Venice, I try to. So yes, yes. Thank you very much.
Great. So thanks, Momoyo. Big applause and architectural ethnography.